That's what's going on. Hey, everybody out there that's listening online, you're tuned into The Divide. Make sure you hit the like, share, comment button. Share it in your ear. We're having the conversations that you need to hear. So the more that you hit share, the more that you get the message out there, and the more that people can hear the important conversations. So drop some comments below, drop an American flag or a smiley face, just say, hey. All right, we're going to get back into the show real quick and make sure that you tell everyone you know. Let's hop into it. So we were talking about the Olympics and how these people do not really care for what's going on as far as our preservation of the representation of the United States of America, right? So it's understandable that some people aren't happy with things going on in our country. Very seldom am I happy with the way that the government is going, you know, because the government does a whole bunch of things it doesn't really need to do and never really seems to do the things that it needs to do. Sometimes we get lucky and sometimes it does. But really the problem is Congress, all four, was it 451 of them? All of them, most of them, almost all of them, not the best in the world. We did not send our best to Congress, not the best and brightest. But the fact of the matter there is there's very limited ability for different people on different levels of government to control everything in scope that we see as issues. And one of the things that we see happening all too often is when it comes to the president, no matter who the president is, whether it's Biden, Obama, whether it's Trump, we see a lot of people putting a lot of onus on the president that the president can't control. And really, those issues are Congress. So one of the big examples I can give you of something going on right now is the SAVE Act, right? So I'm very much in favor of voter ID. I always have been, and I've always preached about voter ID to all of you guys. But now we've got the SAVE Act. It just passed the House. Fantastic. Thank God for the SAVE Act passing the House. But now it's in the Senate and it's basically stalled. They don't have enough votes to actually get it passed. So I don't know what we're going to do. You know, why do you have all of these Democrats voting against voter ID? And if you listen to them discuss the SAVE Act, their whole conversation about the SAVE Act is, oh, it makes it difficult for minorities to vote. Minorities don't have IDs. What? What nonsense is that? You know, you look at places like New York State. What is an ID? $15? You know, most people, almost everybody that I know has an ID unless they've lost their ID recently. So what audacity and gall do you have getting on the TV saying, oh, black people aren't bright enough or don't have enough money to go and actually get an ID? So see, these are the first parts of the conversation that put us on a bad footing. Hey, I see you out there. I'll pop your comment up. If you guys drop a comment, I'll pop you on the screen. Somebody just said, hey, good to see you. So here's what we've got going on. They're telling us as black people and as other groups of minority, but they single out black people and they say that, oh, it's going to make it more difficult for black people to vote. Every black person I know has an ID. So what do you mean? Then they'll say, oh, well, what if somebody doesn't have their birth certificate? What if somebody doesn't have their marriage certificate? What if somebody doesn't have this? What if somebody doesn't have that? Okay, that is a fair question, right? So also, again, I'm a big anti-consolidation of government type of person. All of these years, I've been fighting the Real ID, which used to be the National ID Card Act, okay? Go look that up. That came in right around the same time that we had, what was it called? Came in right around the same time that we had the Patriot Act, which repealed the Patriot Act, you guys. So, but the Real ID Act came in around the same time the Patriot Act came in. They said that the Real ID Act was unconstitutional because essentially what it did was it created a federal level network and database of all of the citizens. And that's unconstitutional. That's not supposed to happen. So they tried to rigmarole that, twist it around, change it around, and they concocted it into the Real ID. So the Real ID essentially is, it's a database of everybody. And to get a Real ID, you have to have your birth certificate. You have to show your social security information. You have to have multiple forms of ID to get a Real ID. Okay. That's how the real ID works. Also, it's very similar to the enhanced ID if you have that where you live. Okay. So when we're having this conversation about voter ID and people needing their papers, where were these people that are so concerned about people's ability to go vote when it came to the real ID? Nobody had anything to say when they were forcing the real ID down our throat. Now we've got people that if you want to go take a plane, a train, a bus, you need a real ID. That's ridiculous to me. And I'm not with it. I'm not with it at all. But the fact of the matter is that's where we are. That's what's come up, because these same people that are so mad about the SAVE Act requiring proof of citizenship are the same ones that didn't do anything to stop the real ID that requires proof of citizenship. Why can't we have these real conversations? Like, don't play in my face. You know, these people are taking a piss and telling us it's raining. Oh, they care so much about people's ability to vote because some people can't prove that they're a citizen. You can't prove that you're a citizen? That's a problem. I think we got more issues than just voter ID if people can't prove that they're citizens. You know, this is a very serious problem. And they'll say, oh, well, what about the women? Well, the women can't possibly get out to vote because they've got married and now their last name is different than what it was on their birth certificate. What are they playing at with pushing these types of faulty narratives? And don't get it twisted. There are issues with the SAVE Act. I believe that it is one step to federalization of elections. Okay. And I'm not very fond of that. So we need to very much so be cognizant of that. But let's point this out. If that being a real issue that it is, the push for federalization of the elections, that's not come out of one Democrat's mouth. That's not one issue that any of them have talked about. And I've been very concerned about that for some time. But we can't talk about that. But they'd like to tell you that, oh, women can't prove that they're citizens. What? And then they'll tell you something crazy like, oh, well, the women are no longer going to be able to vote because this is the Republicans pushing headship. Are you serious? So if you guys aren't familiar, real quick, hit the like button, hit the share button, drop a comment. Everything helps kick the algorithm to get it out to more people. And be part of the conversation. We'll pop your statement up on screen, even if it's just a hi or a thumbs up. So let's talk about headship for 2 seconds, right? When we're talking about the voter ID. Okay, headship is the concept that the man is the head of the household, right? And when they cultivate that narrative, they're trying to say, oh, well, the man will be the only one that has the ability to vote. The woman will no longer be able to vote. That's not true. That's not true. Nowhere is that in this legislation. That's not in the legislation. There's nothing taking away women's ability to get out there and go vote, even if they have a husband. That's not a thing. But this is what they keep and continue to try to push. Like, women are these weak, foo-foo people that are not some of the strongest members of our society, you know? Like, is that not, if that's the case, maybe there shouldn't be any women in Congress. Oh, what? But wait, how did women get in Congress and be married at the same time? Well, they must have had their husband must have been supportive of the whole situation, right? Like, there are women in Congress that are married. There are women in Congress that have been pregnant during their stint in Congress. Like, are we serious here? Like, what are we talking about? Oh, well, they're going to make it headship so only men that are the head of household can vote. Okay, so, well, okay, I hear you. But that also means that the women that are head of household, okay, like single women or women that are the head of their household with child or whatever the case is, that don't have a husband, that means that they'll still be able to vote, right? Okay, so let's get back to the married women not being able to vote. What is the likelihood of that happening? Under what circumstances would this bill do that? No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. The SAVE Act doesn't have anything in there at all. This goes back to the ridiculous argument that the Democrats are pushing out there, saying that women that get married do not have access to their appropriate documents. And that's ludicrous. Now, let's consider the fact that there are 36 different states right now that have voter ID. 36, you guys. You might not live in one. You might live in a deep blue state like I do in New York State, where we don't have voter ID. Anybody can walk in off the street and say that they're Joe Bob and they can vote for Joe Bob. And this is a serious problem. And they'll say, oh, well, there's no large scale fraud. Okay, that's fine. There's no large scale fraud. That's perfectly fine. I don't want any fraud in my elections. I barely want a mistake in my elections due to a typo or a computer glitch. Okay, when we have these conversations, we have to have them in a way which is a comprehensive, cohesive conversation. But they don't want to do that. And they try to manipulate and warp the mind of the populace. I was having a conversation with somebody that's a highly intelligent individual yesterday. And they're like, oh, the SAVE Act is going to make it more hard for minorities to vote and for women to vote. No, it is not. Now, are there some issues that might make it a little more difficult for people to get out and vote? Hey, Amaret, I see you there. Are there? No, you're not the only one on here. There's lots of people here. You guys drop some comments, drop some thumbs up, make some hearts or whatever the case is. So as we talk about this conversation, when we say, oh, well, women and voting, stop trying to sell me on the thought that women are incompetent beings. Women are some of the most competent individuals that you can meet. You understand what I'm saying? Especially when it comes to record keeping and certain types of document housing and stuff like that. That's why traditionally the woman kept the records for the household when it comes to finance. So you mean to tell me that in our nation that is a history of what we have, that women aren't able to keep track of their IDs? Make that make sense to me. I need some help understanding that. Like, this is the problem. Like, stop selling me that women are inept. Stop selling me that minorities are inept. None of this is true. How can you perpetrate this false narrative because you don't want voter ID? Why don't you want voter ID? Again, 36 states have it. Now let's look and analyze what happens in those 36 states. Mexico has voter ID. Okay, if Mexico has voter ID, how come we can't have voter ID? Almost every other country has voter ID. How come the United States of America can't have voter ID? And how come the Democrats are against it when we've got about 86% of the population in our nation? These are CNN's numbers. 86% of the population in the nation want voter ID. 76% of Democrats support voter ID. This is the reporting from CNN. Now, CNN is known to be a considerably more liberal, more Democrat, more leftist-leaning organization. Can we have that conversation? These are the numbers from them. And this is what they're saying. Abigail, I appreciate you. Shout out to Abigail. Hit the like, hit the share button, okay? These are the important conversations. What is going on that they do not want us to have voter ID? What are they afraid of? Again, 36 different states have it. Now, let's talk about the cost, right? Because they'll tell you, okay, well, it's the cost that is the issue. All right, fine. That's fantastic. The cost is the issue. I got you. I'm listening. So if the cost is the issue, how come the other states where voter ID is required will give you a free ID just to vote if you don't have an ID? Let's say that again. The states that have voter ID give and issue a free ID for those who do not have regular IDs, just to vote. Can we not apply that across our nation and across the different states that don't already have those levels of standards? Now, when we have the conversation about voter ID, people say, "Oh, well, it's about the birth certificate, it's just about the social security cards and stuff like that." Do you not have your birth certificate and social security card? Okay, you can go online very quickly, vital statistics, you can get your birth certificate overnighted in 48 hours. You'll get it in 48 hours from when you submit it. That's your birth certificate from anywhere in the United States of America, even Hawaii, which is why I never understood why it took so long to get Barack Obama's birth certificate. That never made any sense to me. Most powerful man in the world. I never understood it. Never made sense. But you, Tom, Jane, Abigail, can go online and get your birth certificate within 48 hours. Okay, 72 hours, depending on where you live across the country, because sometimes you're further away. If you are on Hawaii, I'm gonna be under the impression it's gonna take you a little bit longer than 48 hours because Hawaii is far away from Maine. That'd probably take you a couple more. But the fact of the matter is, when we're having these conversations, we need to be looking at the concern of the people in our country, right? This is the problem. Far too often, we get people in office that virtue signal, that push these different narratives, that push these different focuses, which are not the same as the population. And this is the same whether it's Democrat or Republican, okay? Right now, we're in a fight for voter ID, but most of the people want voter ID. All of the Democrats are voting against it. Why are they voting against it? When we're talking about people voting against stuff, can we talk about the things that they're trying to push in Virginia right now that they've got the legislature turned and they've got a Democrat governor there? They're trying to remove the qualifications on child touching and that type of interaction. Y'all know the type I'm talking about. And they're trying to remove that as being something that has a minimum or anything like that. Why is that? Who are these people? You can't tell me that people in Virginia want that. Not whether they're Democrat or Republican. No, stop doing stuff that nobody wants and nobody asked for to push this ridiculous agenda from wherever it comes from. I don't know. This lady in Virginia, that's the governor there now, she's part of the CIA. So now, if you thought that the CIA ran Virginia before, they definitely run them now. So, I just don't understand when we talk about this type of stuff, how people don't see how serious these things are. Like, this is very serious. The people want voter ID. Another thing that the people want is they want these illegal aliens deported. Over the weekend, Hillary Clinton, this is Hillary Clinton. So when I say that the people want the illegal aliens deported, listen to what Hillary Clinton had to say. Hillary Clinton was at the Munich Security Conference, and Hillary Clinton said, we need to close the border and we need to do more deportations. That's Hillary Clinton. That's out of Hillary Clinton's mouth. The wise old elder queen of the Democrat Party. She said we need to close the border and we need to do more deportations. Hillary Clinton, go look it up. Like I always say, don't believe me because I'm saying it, believe me because I'm telling you. I'm going out of my way to tell you. That means that you should have a real reason to believe, and I always encourage you to go look it up. It's very, very, very concerning when we see what's going on in our nation, and like the whole situation with the deportations. If you turned on the TV, the news would have you believe that people don't want these people deported. But that's not the case. The majority of, again, going back to CNN statistics, okay, 62% of the Democrats want there to be more deportations. 62% of Democrats. And it's like something like 82, is somewhere between 76 and 82. Don't quote me on that one. Percent of the Republicans want there to be more want them to be more deportations. So why are we having these people out in the middle of the street acting a raw riot? We haven't deported as many people as we did under Obama. We haven't deported as many people as we did under Bush. I think we might be just getting towards that level. Okay, but we haven't deported as many people as Clinton, her husband. But this is what's going on. Why can't we have these conversations? We need to be having the conversations that are important to our citizens, because it's very clear that our elected officials do not care. Our elected officials are not prioritizing our best interests, the things that we want done, and they're more than happy to push their own agendas. Whether that's for some money to go into their back pockets or their cousins' pockets, whether it's some corporate donor, whether it's international or foreign interests, they continue to act against the will of the people. And we have to ask ourselves, well, why is that? And that gets back to the reason why we need small government. The federal government has continued to sap away the power from the people. The state government has continued to sap away the power from the people. And I live in New York State, so every other week I see the state assembly and state senate putting forth some type of law to take more rights, liberties, and freedoms away from our people. I see our Governor Kathy, now she's talking about, oh, well, you can't have 50 cal munitions because those might be able to stop vehicles. 50 caliber munitions might be able to stop vehicles? In the history of the state of New York, how has that been an issue? Show it to me on paper. Show it to me in numbers. Show it to me in the warped statistics that you always try to present to us. People having 50 caliber weapons has never been an issue in New York State. Are we serious? And then we look at the people that are using guns for malicious activity and activity that would be considered unwarranted or illegal. And most of those firearms are not even legal in New York State. Not legal in New York State. So what are we doing? Clearly, we are pushing in the wrong legislation, the wrong laws, because what the government wants to do is empower itself and disempower you. And this is the continued pattern for as long as government has been government. This is why the founders and the people that pushed to create our nation wanted it to be a small government. This is why there was such a big back and forth between the Articles of the Confederation and putting in place the Constitution, because the Articles of Confederation were not substantive to actually do what we needed to do. But the Articles of Confederation actually allowed each state to have more freedom and more liberties. But now we have the Constitution, and I'd encourage you guys at some point, go look up the Articles of Confederation, go look up the earlier versions of the Constitution and stuff like that, so that were put forth before we actually finish it out. There was a lot of stuff in the Constitution that would have been good. Do you know that originally in the Constitution, that the slaves were going to be free, but that ended up getting taken out? You know, so there's different gives and takes throughout history when it comes to legislation. But one thing that is consistent since the founding and the consolidation of our nation into the United States of America to the republic system that we have now has been that the more that the people are not involved or are hands off, laissez-faire with the government, the more that the government seeks to snatch away your rights, liberties, and freedoms. We started off not having any taxes. They used to have bonds and stuff like that, where you would raise the bonds and then you'd end up paying them back to the people with interest. We don't have bonds anymore. Okay, well, we do, you know, we got some municipal bonds, some federal bonds and stuff like that, but they're taxing us now. They're taxing us now. They're taxing us 40, 50%. You know, I figured honest taxation, by the time you get all said and done with it with your paycheck, you're probably paying somewhere between 54 and 62%, depending on what state you're living in. Because you go out, you buy gas, gas is taxed. You go out, you buy food, food is taxed. You go out, you buy clothes, clothes are taxed. You go out, you buy water, the water is taxed. You know, tax this, tax that, tax. And they're feeing and licensing you out of the wazoo. There's a fee and a licensing thing for everything now. They're just penny pinching, nitpicking, cutting corners around your coins and taking every little bit that they can from you. They don't want you to have a whole case dollar. And this brings us into the next conversation about why they got rid of the penny. Okay, since the penny has gone up, gone away, I'm using air quotes if you're listening to me on the radio. Since the penny has gone away, I've seen more and more prices on goods go up. Now, I have always been a bet against the penny going away, and people are like, oh, well, the penny costs us like 5 to 10 cents to make. I don't care. I don't care. You know how long pennies stay in circulation? Pennies stay in circulation forever. Like, you really got to do something to take a penny out of circulation. You know, so what? Keep minting them. They're like, oh, well, it's going to save us some money. No, it's not. Because that means that they're going to round up. Whenever they do some goods or something, they round up. They don't never round down. Why would they round down? They're business people. They're not stupid. You know, so you round up because you don't round to 2 cents. You can't round to 3 cents because you can't pay 3 cents. So now you got to round to 5 cents. So these are the conversations that need to be had. So now the only way to pay in pennies is if you're using something digital, is if you're using a credit or debit card, is if you're using some sort of digital dollar system. Real quick, you guys, I want to make sure that I do this shout out. Thank you guys. You are listening to WRFZ 106.3 FM, Rochester Free Radio. This is The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. We are here in your ear having the conversations you need to hear. We are here every Monday, 2:30 to 4 p.m. And if you guys would like to donate to the station, we're working on raising some money for the station. You can go to patreon.com and go to Rochester Free Radio, donate. We're working to raise some funds to keep the station open and keep the station going. So support the show. And if you're online, there's different ways that you can help right there on the sides or down below, depending on your shape. Make sure that you are subscribing and following, because all of that helps the algorithm. Now, as we have these important conversations, nobody really wants to have these conversations. Somebody said, what's this? This looks like a good one. Who's this? It says, Joshua Watchit. Okay, says they never should have even told us about the ending of making the penny. Nobody would have even noticed for years. LOL. That's funny because it's kind of true. Nobody would have really noticed that they were getting rid of the penny for years because, again, pennies stay in circulation forever. The problem is that the mint takes them out of circulation because they want to keep a certain amount in the actual money system. That's how they know what is basically collateralized or uncollateralized when it comes to actual money. So when we have those types of conversations, you got to understand, money machine go burr, y'all. Money machine go burr. And that's why I don't like Jerome Powell too very much. And I don't like the Federal Reserve and the Fed, y'all. So as we have this conversation in relation to the Federal Reserve, what the Federal Reserve does is essentially it takes the money from the Treasury, our actual money, you guys, and then loans it back to us. How does that work? They take the money from the Treasury, loan it back to us as the American people. They make a profit and it makes our money worth less. But still, that money machine goes burr. And the more that the money machine goes burr, the lower the value of your dollar. And that's why they take currency out of the circulation. Now, we have a very big issue with currency internationally because we've got a lot of U.S. currency that's used across the world. So even when we try to take money out of the money supply here, we've still got a lot of those dollars and bills that are unaccounted for, that are overseas or in some drug guy's manor somewhere in some Cayman Island. So this is important things that we have to talk about when we're talking about monetary policy, when we're talking about the impacts on you, me, and daily life. So we need to have this type of discourse. And one of the big issues is now that the penny is gone, little by little, you'll start to see more and more things go up in price. And then what's next? We get rid of the dime. We get rid of the nickel. What comes next? We get rid of the quarter. This is all a march to digital currency, okay? People are like, oh, well, Bitcoin is awesome. Bitcoin is the best. Ethereum is the best. Ethereum is great. What do you call them? XRP is fantastic. All of these things. These stable coins are great. Are they though? Are they? Who controls the internet, you guys? The federal government. Who controls the electricity? The government. So if the government controls the two things that you need to access your money, how is that a good thing? You make it make sense to me. They used to, when they started to come out with digital currency and Bitcoin and stuff, they used to have these things that looked like flash drives or different things, even hard drives. You could offload your actual tokens to that were like a hard wallet, right? They called it a hardware wallet. So you can actually physically hold on to it and it's not out there somewhere in the ether or somewhere in some sort of an exchange where your money could just disappear from. So now that they're pushing away from that, how can you say that you actually have the money that you have? You could just wake up one day and the government say, boop, boop, shut down. And even if you were to able to keep all of your currency, let's just say you've got all your currency in a digital wallet, right? All your money's there, whatever. The government decides that they're going to shut off your internet access. They're going to shut down your phone ID. So now you can't access the internet. You can't use Wi-Fi. You can't do that. They're going to freeze all your accounts. You can't do any of that. And you'll say, well, Marcus, that sounds like something that would never happen. Let me explain to you something. They've got this thing. It's called the FedNow app. I encourage you to go look it up. Okay. And the FedNow app essentially is a intermediary, call it a middleman, okay, between you doing any type of digital transaction or credit card, debit card transaction, your bank, and whoever you're trying to give the money to. Let's say you're trying to pay Sally Express, okay? You want to give Sally Express $10. You tap your card, it goes up to the Fed, it comes to your bank, it goes down to Sally. Why is the federal government in between your money and who you're trying to give your money to? Why is the federal government tracking all of your payments? And I encourage you, go look up the FedNow app. This is what they put in place while people have been asleep. Okay, they're trying to push this digital currency, which is coming up. We're very close to it right now, you guys. And I want you guys to remember that we're very close. And people are like, oh, well, it's okay. It's fine. You know, I was just watching. I want to say it was Guinea. It might have been Guyana. Don't quote me on that one, but go look that up. Okay, now they're starting to push out digital IDs, digital wallets, and digital IDs. It's all going to be tied to your phone. You won't have to worry anymore. Okay, we're bringing the country to the future. You know who just did that? Vietnam. I believe, was it Thailand was the other country right there? One of the other countries right by Vietnam. But Vietnam closed like something like almost 40 million people's accounts. Go look it up for the exact number, but it's like 40 million people. Okay, and then it's like their next door neighbor. I want to say it's Thailand, but I can't remember for sure. And they closed a whole bunch of people's accounts, millions, because they did not want to go into the digital wallet, digital currency type of angle. They didn't want any of that. It's a very, very serious thing. So this is a problem. If we're not having these conversations about what's forthcoming, why are our elected officials distracting us with minutia like the SAVE Act? Now let's bring that full circle, right? We've got the SAVE Act, okay? The SAVE Act is pushing a higher level of quality of ID for people to vote. It is now making sure that they have their citizenship and stuff in order, very much so like the digital ID, very much so like the whole concept that they pushed for the National ID Card Act. And now it is here to vote, right? Now, I support voter ID, but I'm very concerned that this is going to be a lead-in to them pushing more digital wallets, right? Because it's convenient, because you'll have your phone all the time. You don't leave your phone at home. You might leave your wallet, but you won't leave your phone. And where I live in New York State, they've already got digital ID, okay? They started it by pushing it during COVID, right? So they said, oh, if you don't have your Vax Pass, now you got to do a digital Vax Pass. And if you don't have one, you can't go to the gym, you can't go eat, you can't go into stores and stuff like that. So that was just one push in a step to get you used to being compliant with the government, showing your papers, please, just like the Nazis, just like the fascists, okay, papers, please. But nobody stood up to any of that. The Democrats, the same people right now who are giving you holy heaven, okay, not holy heaven, you know the other place, but they're giving you all types of problems about the SAVE Act and the ID were the same ones that pushed all of this nonsense during COVID. They pushed digital Vax passes during COVID, and none of them said anything. They were calling in on their neighbors to report during Thanksgiving that their neighbor had more than 2 people at their house for Thanksgiving. And now these are the people that are telling us what should be done and what shouldn't be done about voter ID. How dare they? The audacity, the caucasity of the whole situation, mostly because it's white liberals, okay? More specifically than just white liberals, mostly white liberal women. And this has been a continued issue over and over and over again. These people that claim to be our saviors never speak up on the real issues. And then when they find something that they can nandy-pandy about or something that they can use to lift up themselves and make them feel good about, they say, oh, let me jump onto that cause. We saw it with Ukraine. We saw it with alphabetism. We saw it with Palestine. We saw it with Mexico. We saw it with all of these other things. There were these crazy people out here waving all of these flags for everything else except the United States of America. Their priority is everybody else except the United States of America. I watched a video yesterday. It was this guy was doing interviews, and he interviewed these young ladies, and he said, "Okay, what's the best country in the world?" And they said, "Oh, well, it's Mexico." Now these people are in America, and they said, "Oh, Mexico is the best country in the world." So the guy asked them, he said, "Well, why are you in America if that's the best country?" They said, "Oh, well, America has better opportunities and this and that and the third and da 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 da." But you just said Mexico was the best country, so why aren't you there? And they're like, well, I don't know. And this is the problem, because we got so many people that hate on our nation so hard, okay? And that is the problem. You're hating our country, but you're in our country. Please go. Please go. Nobody's holding you hostage here. And for all of the foreigners that came here that don't like it here, please go. All of the foreigners that are here that want to recreate us in some other foreign image, whether it's the foreign Islam or whether it's the Communist Manifesto or whether it's whatever, please go. If you don't like the way our country is so bad, go. If you don't like our traditions and our history so bad, go. Stop trying to change our nation into the image of something else that is not representative of our nation. And this is what we see happen far too often. We get all of these people that are like, "Oh, well, I don't like America," or whatever, going back to the people at the Winter Olympics. "Oh, well, I'm not happy with what's going on in America." No, shut your mouth. If you don't like America, leave. Otherwise, shut your mouth, okay? Because as much as I can't stand the government, I love my country, okay? Call me Captain America. Hey, call me General America, okay? Call me the President of the United States of America. But the fact of the matter is I love my country. And while I don't like my government, it doesn't mean that I think that everybody should be going around bad-mouthing my country. There's a lot of things that I don't like in going on here. It doesn't mean that I don't like my country. It means that I don't like the various things. I'm not going to go around bad-mouth my country. Well, I don't like the way that the dollar is depreciated so much. I don't like that inflation over the last couple of decades has, as far as I'm concerned, in my lifetime, skyrocketed. A pack of gum used to be 25 cents. And somebody told me the pack of gum used to be 5 cents. I'm not that old. I don't remember that. I remember 25 cents, and then it was 35 cents, and then it was 50 cents. I don't even know how much a pack of 5 sticks of gum is. Do they even sell that anymore? Like, is that even a thing? How much is it now? $1, you guys? Like, these are the problems. So I don't like that. That's an issue for me, but I'm not going to be like, "I don't like America because this is an issue here in our country." What? That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And anybody that goes on and about like that are problems. Hit the like button, hit the share button. It doesn't cost you nothing, okay? Share it out there and share this message and get more people to follow. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and drop a comment. You drop a comment, I'll pop you up on the screen and try to make you part of the conversation. So as we have these conversations and we're talking about why these people are out here acting all crazy and talking all types of trash about our nation, we have to say, okay, well, you don't like our nation so much. Well, what are you doing to improve it? Just talking trash about our country. You're not helping. You're hurting. Why are you trying to hurt our country? Like you live here. Like, you're trying to make it bad for all of us, make it worse. Why would you do that? What benefit is it to you? Oh, well, I got to speak my mind freely and stick one to the U.S. Really? Everybody in the U.S.? Did we do something to you? I don't know you from a can of paint. Okay, why are you picking at my country? Go pick at China. Okay, China's over there murdering Christians. China's over there using sexual assault as a tool of subjugation. Like, are you serious? Like, go speak out about that. Like, these are things that we know. They're murdering and raping Christians in Nigeria and in Northern Africa. Can we talk about that? Like, what are you comparing? Where is the contrast, right? Like, you don't like what's going on in our country. Okay, fair. But there is real deal stuff going on in other countries. Like, what's going on here is a pittance to what's happening in other nations. So why can't we talk about that? Why don't you want to talk about that? You don't want to talk about that because you don't even have a clue about geopolitics. These people don't know what's going on in Mexico. They don't know what's going on in Canada. More or less, do they know what's going on in the middle of Botswana or somewhere else? They can't tell you about what's going on in China other than what they've seen on the internet. Oh, they've got high-speed rail. That's all they know about China. Oh, look at the mega cities that they have. It's so nice. Not knowing that the majority of China's population is extremely rural, and many have to eat bugs just to survive. Can we talk about that? No, you don't want to talk about that. You just want to harsh on America. Now, if they got up there and started talking trash about other countries, I wouldn't be feeling some type of way, you know? But you talking trash about our country, our nation. Don't do that. If we got an issue internally in our house, let's keep it inside our house. Okay, let's do that. Don't take it outside for everybody else. You know, and that's the big issue that we have right now. These crazy people are the ones that are the loudest. So they're getting the most popularity and circulation, both by the left and by the right, because they're out here acting crazy. You know, on the left, they're circulating these people because they want people to act crazy. On the right, they're circulating these people because they're showing you, hey, look, they're acting crazy. These people are crazy. Okay, but the whole time, what's happening is it's inspiring more people to act crazy and do more damage to our society and to our nation. So what is the benefit? We got these people out there fighting ICE. Okay, fighting ICE. Why? Why are you fighting ICE? Because you don't want them to deport people who are here illegally? But more than that they don't want them to deport people that are sex offenders or child molesters, okay, or human traffickers. There are a lot of these people that they're going after. I saw a video the other day. Okay, it was this clearly gay dude. The guy was gay, right? Like he was queer as a $3 bill, okay? And some Mexican American, right? Like the guy was clearly Mexican American. The other guy was clearly probably flamboyant as all good get up when he ain't at work, okay? I mean, he had the bend in the wrist and everything. Okay, so I saw the video and the guy's like, listen, don't you understand that this is important? We're trying to do our job. We're trying to catch this predator, this sex offender, this child sex offender. Like what? And the lady's like, you're just snatching people off the street and this, that, and the third. He's like, how would you even know? How would you even know? You don't know what we're doing. You don't know who we're going after. And that's a very, very good point. How do they even know? They don't know. They're just doing this in virtue signaling because it makes them feel good, because somebody has cultivated a narrative out there and put it in their head that this is something that is righteous. And it's not righteous at all. It's deprecative. It's hurting our nation. It's making us less safe. But more than that, ICE and HIS, Homeland Security Investigations, which is basically the FBI version of Homeland Security, they're out there working on breaking up terror cells. Because during the Biden administration and previous to him, all types of crazy people came through our border. Okay? We had the Taliban people coming through our border. We had Hezbollah people coming through our border. Okay? We had all types of people. China sent all types of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of spies into our nation through the southern border. And that doesn't even talk about any other countries like the Al-Shabaab and in Africa and these other crazy terrorist groups that hate us. Somebody said the CCP. That's right, the CCP, China. Okay, somebody says that we should separate China from the CCP, but until the CCP is gone, there is no separation. So this is a serious issue. This is a serious issue. They need to go after these people that have come in here that have done, yes, all of these military age men, thousands of military age men, not just thousands of military age men from China, tens of thousands of military age men have been funneled into our country through the southern border. And Border Patrol, HIS, and ICE are trying to get all of these people out. Do you remember? You might have seen this. You might have seen this. There was a guy. I talked about the children last week. I'll talk about that again in a minute. But there was a guy. I want to say it was 2024, okay? Skinny guy, glasses, some sort of Arabic looking, okay? And the guy was doing the interviews. He interviews the people at the southern border, talking about where are you, where you come from, whatever the case is, tell your story. And he asked this guy where he's from. And he's like, oh, you don't know who I am? Ha, 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 ha. He's like, oh, you're going to find out who I am. You'll know who I am. Come to find out, this is one of the highest ranking people in a terrorist organization. Go look it up. Go look it up. Okay. And this is what is coming through our southern border, what came through our southern border. So now as ICE starts to go after these criminals, as HF goes about these criminals, we have to stop all criminals from permeating our nation. They're all the way embedded in our country. A lot of them are better embedded in our country than the Soviets were. Okay. And that's something that we need to have a conversation about. Nobody knows where these terrorists are. We got so many terrorists from so many different countries, so many different versions, even from the same countries, multiple different versions of terrorists. And then you got people that just have a vendetta against the United States. You know, I'm not mad. I mean, if somebody blew up my grandma who was in a wheelchair and my dog that only had 3 legs, I probably wouldn't stop until I got revenge on them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's some serious stuff. So I'm just saying that there are real people that are really mad against our country, and a lot of them are inside our country trying to subvert our nation from inside. And one of the groups that are going after them are the Department of Homeland Security. But they're trying to stop the Department of Homeland Security from doing everything that they need to help preserve our nation. Now, the crazy thing is we've got these crazy people on the left, okay, that are actually out there trying to stop them from doing their job. And they're like, oh, well, they're just rounding up random people. They're not. These are people with deportation orders. These are people that have already been convicted of other more serious crimes inside the United States. And let me be very honest, if you guys are just tuning in for the first time, I'm a deport all of them type of a person. Deport all of them, deport them harder. If you ask me, the Department of Homeland Security, they're not deporting enough of them. They're not deporting them fast enough. They're not deporting them hard enough. Okay, I want it harder, faster, stronger. I want all of that. All of that. I want them gone. Like, you're not playing in my face. And when we talk about the illegal immigration, let's take 2 seconds and look at it from a different angle, not just the angle of the really serious criminals, right? So hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the share button. It don't cost you nothing. Drop a comment, be part of the conversation. All of that helps the algorithm get it out to more people. Let's talk about the illegal aliens here that are not necessarily the criminals, okay? Let's talk about that. Look at where we are right now with our economy, right? We have the president right now who is actually trying to do something, and the president himself can't do very much. We talked about how presidents themselves can't really do very much. They can only do what their office allows them to do, right? Because they're only the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and they're the head executive of the executive branch, so the heads of the different departments. So they can do some deregulation, they can do some international trade stuff, and they can do some military stuff. But aside from that, all of the other big stuff needs to go through Congress. So Congress is the big issue on most of these issues. Right? But we've got a president right now that's trying to work to address the issue that's going on with AI coming hard. That's going on with China trying to make it more difficult for us to produce our own goods at home. China's got a monopoly on rare earth minerals. President Trump is trying to address that with the critical minerals surplus that he's trying to build. He's trying to address the wealth of our nation and our children with the Trump accounts for the babies, $1,000 credited to an investment account for the children. Okay, for each children that's born between last year and I want to say it's 2028. Don't count me on that last one on the close of that year, but double check that. And he's trying to do that. He's trying to look to see if we can start a sovereign wealth fund. He's trying to do that. So all of these different things the president is trying to do and trying to get off the ground to secure our wealth for the future. Now, some people hate this man so bad it don't matter. He can save the world tomorrow. It wouldn't matter. Okay. How many wars did he end so far that he claims? 10, 11, 12, 15? I don't even know. I've lost count. Dozens. dozens, and that's for real. You know, that's not, and then that's not something to be taken lightly. Like countries that have been fighting for decades, that he's worked stuff out, you know? But aside from that, let's focus back on the homeland. Right now, what we're seeing is him doing everything that he can to shore up us as American citizens, because what's coming is dreadfully serious. We look at what's going on with the economy right now, right? We've got more and more investment. I think we're up to $17 trillion of foreign investment coming in, pouring into our nation. A lot of money, a lot of money, more than ever before. And that's fantastic. Building more manufacturing hubs, building more of the different power plants, building more of the different data centers and stuff like that. I figure data centers will go away in a few years anyway, because everything will be micro size so far down that you won't really need data centers on that scale. But in the meantime, you'll need them to build it up. But those will go flop eventually. But the fact of the matter is, right now, we're preparing for massive automation. A lot of these companies and stuff like that, Tesla says that the Tesla bots are going to be out by the end of this year. Okay, and they're 30,000 a pop. I think he said 35,000. And that's good, because that's less than it costs somebody to pay a salary for an average entry-level employee. And the robots can do most of their jobs pretty well. Okay, they got full opposable thumbs and all of that, and they can move and they can walk, and they're humanoid and stuff like that. And that's not just Tesla. There's about a dozen other fully autonomous AI companies that are out there, some better than others. Not a big fan of Atlas. Atlas is actually a Hyundai company. I didn't even realize that. So that's kind of interesting. They're from Boston Dynamics. They do a lot of those things that you've seen on the internet for years. And now they're doing they do the dogs too. And it's all largely military applications for them. But as the technology that they do slims down, I'm sure that they'll be releasing a commercial and a residential version too, just like Tesla is doing. And those aren't the only two companies. There's about 4 or 5 other ones, like IO and a couple of other ones. So, and they're very far advanced in this thing. So these machines will be doing everything. I was watching CES the other day, the Consumer Electronics Show. They've got these ones that are supposed to be doing nursing care and stuff like that. There go all the nurse jobs. So us not having these important conversations is doing our nation a disservice. So what's coming up is a massive push to automation. And if we have a massive push to automation, it's going to happen like that, okay, like a snap. It's not going to take a long time. It's going to take a couple months to a year or two for a lot of jobs to go swoop, gone. So we're going to need different things like social services, temporary assistance, and other programs like that that are considered entitlement programs to offset the job losses. Okay, well, I know a lot of people are against those types of programs and stuff like that for one reason or another. But the fact of the matter is if you lose 10 million people in the workforce in like less than a year, you're going to need to give them 10 million people some type of situation to stave themselves off so that they don't end up in the most austere of conditions, so they don't act a crazy fool, you know, because when people get really desperate, they do really crazy things. 10 million really desperate people is a lot of people. That's a problem. That's a serious problem. So, and that's just me being lowballing, right? I know it'll be more than 10 million people. The estimate right now is about 30 million people. And I still think that that might be a little bit low. Jobs just taken in the next 5 years by AI and machinery. So can we have that conversation? What happens when that happens? And these Democrats and the left are like, oh, well, they're here to pick cotton and pick apples and pick cherries and all types of. No, they're not. No, they're not. Most of the people that came in this country are not here to do any of those type of jobs. Stop playing with me. Stop pissing in my face and telling me it's raining, you know? And this is what's going on. They're trying to tell you and convince you that something that is happening is not happening. Something that's not happening is happening. Okay? So now, if you look at the jobs that they're saying that these people have, all of these farming jobs. Do you guys follow agriculture at all? Have you seen these new machines that they've been putting out over the last couple of years? You don't need no people for no farms. You need like 2-3 people for a farm now. Okay? And as the technology grows and grows and grows, Two things are going to happen to farms. One, smaller farmers are going to continue to be pushed out as we see massive, large corporations and massive multi-billionaires buying up all the farmland. They're going to continue to be pushed out. So they're not going to need a job. They're not going to have a job. And all of these people with all these money, the corporation and the billionaires, can just buy machines. So you explain to me where those so-called field workers that you got are going to work at. But then you look at the other jobs and the other positions that they have of all of these people that came into the country. Most of them aren't highly skilled. Most of them barely speak the language. What jobs are they going to get? Basic menial tasks that basically anybody could be taught. Okay, manufacturing jobs, simple manufacturing. Okay, food plants, stuff like that. McDonald's, what do you call it? Taco Bell, places like that where the tasks are repetitive and very simple and very easy. So now you're going to have the people, our citizens that need jobs, especially if you look at the educational system right now. A lot of people that have graduated with various degrees can't even get degrees in their field. It used to be something like 86% of people who get a degree never get a job in that field. I bet you it's like 99% now. Something crazy like that, because it was 86 back when I was little. So I have no clue what it is now, but I'm sure it's skyrocketed. And this is a serious issue. So if you're competing with illegal aliens for basic entry-level jobs, and then all of those jobs go away because of machines, now you're going to have to compete with them for social services. Okay? And that's a conversation that nobody's out here trying to have. Because when all of these jobs do start going away, and they're already started, you can look at a lot of, there are McDonald's that are automating more and more. There are Taco Bells that are automating more and more. They've got, I was looking at, what do you call it? Chipotle used to be part of McDonald's. McDonald's used to own Chipotle, if you didn't know. They spun that off. They shouldn't have done that. That was a dumb idea. But anyway, when Chipotle is working on some automation right now, and Chipotle said they're not worried about their numbers because their average customer makes more than $100,000 a year. That's crazy. How many of y'all out there listening to me right now make more than $100,000 a year? Drop a comment. And if you don't, just drop a comment anyway. Say hi, say hey, give me a thumbs up, give me an American flag. Tell me what's on your mind. Okay, as we see these things coming, somebody said the machines haven't caught up to the workers. And Kevin, that needs to have a question mark. The machines haven't caught up to the workers, question mark. They're very fastly catching up to the workers on scale. And I'm talking about across almost all the positions, not just some of them. But right now, they're caught up over many people in many positions. The thing is that it's just not cost effective quite yet, but that is coming too. And that's what I'm talking about. As the prices get driven down for these machines and for automation, those jobs are going to go away faster, 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 faster. Gone, poof. So fast that you won't know what happened. There's a thing, it's called, what is it? Is it Moore's Law? Moore's Law, where the computing size, it gets bigger, it gets faster, and it gets bigger as far as compute goes, and smaller as far as the size that's needed in some sort of a thing that's supposed to be like incremental. But our advancement of technology has gone so far that we've now surpassed Moore's Law. You understand what I'm saying? So we're making these things and we're advancing so fast that it's beyond what you could even fathom. And when stuff that you can't fathom starts to come in to being affordable, that's when we really start to see a difference. You know, somebody was explaining to me the other day, they said, you know, if you were born right around the Civil War, you could have seen the Civil War, seen the first radio, seen the first man in flight, and seen the first moon landing and first color TV in your lifetime. And I had to sit with that for a second. And that really made me go like, wow, such a short amount of time, less than 100 years, so much accomplishment happened. And when we as America think of things like that, we're like, oh, that was ages ago. No, flight is like 2 generations ago, as we know it now, you know, Wright brothers. Flight is like 1 generation, 2 generations ago. you know, and they were like, yeah, and they could have been alive during the Civil War and then seen World War One and World War Two with airplanes, you know, and they had cannons back then. So they went from cannons to seeing airplanes and tanks and artillery. Like, that's crazy. So, but during my lifetime, during the last couple of years and stuff like that, we haven't seen that level of advancement. And you have to ask yourself why. And there's always the jokes about, oh, well, you know, if somebody invents a car that runs on water, well, the government or the oil companies will put them to bed, you know? And that's true. You know, we've got a ton of patents in the government. I think we're over tens of thousands that are redacted in the interests of national security, you know, or in national security also is about national industry. If it would collapse one of our industrial markets, they file that type of stuff away too. So this is the reason why we don't know what else is out there, like the fact that Kodak had plasma energy back in the 60s. Kodak had plasma energy back in the 60s. We still don't have plasma energy. What are you talking about? Why can't I power my house with plasma energy? You know, they were powering whole factories with plasma energy. Okay, my godfather used to work for Kodak, changing those things. So he told me all the stories and stuff about it. That's crazy, right? Like, we were that far advanced back then. What have we been doing? What have we been doing? You know, what have they done to us? What did they do to us? You know, like that meme online. So it's a real serious conversation that's not being had. We got another comment. This comment's long, man. What's going on here? Somebody, America for everybody's growth, and I don't know. They said a lot. I'm not able to read all of that. The screen's too small. Sorry about that. Pop up some smaller comments, and I'll try to break up what you're saying and pop it up there, because it's too big for me to read in one chunk. So anyway, as we have this conversation about what's the future is going to bring, this is why we have to get rid of the illegal aliens. This is why we have to scale back on the people that we're importing in through the visa system. That's important too. It's not just the illegal aliens, it's the ones that are here on the visa system, specifically like OB1 visas, H1B visas, and the rest of those. Okay, there's like 5 or 6 other ones. Okay, we need to slim back the number of people that we're bringing in here. I just saw an article about the U of R. Now, I live in Rochester. The U of R is one of the most prestigious colleges outside of being Ivy League, right? And that's for real. But they just said that, oh, the U of R is having a serious decline in revenue and in enrollment because Trump's scaled back some of the visas. So now they're having a hard time meeting enrollment and meeting their budgetary requirements. Well, why is your school cost so much? Our U of R costs way too much for college. Way too much. I live here. Costs way too much. I guess they say that they give us discounts if we live here, but it still costs way too much, you know? But the fact that they're relying on foreigners to come here, go to school, and then go back home is insane. Why are we letting all of these foreigners come here, get educated, and then leave? Who's stupid? I don't even know what you call that, right? Like, they call it a brain drain when smart people from one country move and go to another country. What is it called when you train the people to be smart and then they go back to their own country? That's not serving us as a country, you know? So we've got that as an issue for these educational visas. We've got the H1B visas where they're supposed to be doing highly technical jobs and they're not. That's its whole own issue. But let's just say that they were. Okay, we've got those visas. So now we've got the people taking out the jobs that are lower, upper level type of jobs. You know, white collar jobs that could actually provide people that are American citizens a better way forward in life. You know, social mobility. But they don't want you to have social mobility. That's why they're importing all of these foreigners here. That's the whole point, because they can pay them less and they could also help you not rise at the same time. So it serves the government and it serves the corporations both at the same time. And that's a serious conversation. So the American people, we're getting sandwiched from both sides. I should do like this. We're getting sandwiched from both sides. From the bottom, we're getting sandwiched out by the illegal aliens. Okay. And from the top, we're getting sandwiched out from the H-1B visas and the technical visas and stuff like that. Because if they're all over here, and Trump even said this, and it made me very upset. He was like, "Oh, we need to let in more foreigners because we need them for our labor force because our people can't do the jobs." Well, why can't our people do the jobs, Trump? That sounds like something that you need to address. That sounds like a you problem. These foreigners don't sound like a me problem. My problem is that you need to work on what's going on in our country and how we're doing stuff so our people can actually get these jobs, not bring foreigners over here, because once they come over here, a lot of them won't want to go. These aren't the people that are coming over here to go to school. 86% of the people that get a bachelor's degree that are foreign go back to their home country. Let me say that again. 86% of people on a visa here to go to school to get a bachelor's degree go back to their country of origin. Okay? But the people that we're bringing over here on H-1B visas don't want to leave. Now, those are two different conversations, but also I'm using that to highlight the point that these people don't want to leave, because now they're able to send money back to their countries and their family and have a better quality of life than they would in their own country. Why would they want to leave? I wouldn't want to leave. Why are we allowing that and creating a situation where they wouldn't? You know, see, this is a concept and the type of long-term planning that is not happening. That is not going on. I was watching this, I think it was it not the Department of Energy, the Department of Labor. It was the Department of Labor. I was watching the Department of Labor. They said that they need, I think something like 100,000 welders and what was the other thing? Electricians. They need 100,000 welders and electricians in the next 5 years. 100,000 welders and electricians in the next 5 years? Y'all better hop on that. I need to see all of the welding and electric programs going on. Where are all of those? Those need to be coming out of the woodwork. Department of Labor. Okay, where is all of that? SBA, where is all of that? Okay. And speaking of the SBA, they just passed a new rule where they won't give any SBA loans or grants or stuff to companies that have foreign people on their board or were part of a foreign company in the last 6 months or anything like that. And I said, woohoo, about time. That should have already been a thing. I don't know why it wasn't a thing. They make you fill that information out when you apply for the SBA, but why wouldn't that be a thing? Why are you giving our stuff to foreigners? What are you doing? And then people in America, you might have often heard people in America decry that all of these foreigners come over here and they get more benefits and options to succeed than the American people. And it's true. It's a very, very, very true statement. But people don't talk about it. So when you hear somebody, all they're doing is saying, oh, well, you know, these poor foreigners, these poor illegal aliens, you know, why? What? Poor them, poor us. Look at our veterans out on the street. Look at the people with mental health issues out on the street. Don't have a proper amount of care. Okay, look at all the people that are struggling for food, the housing insecure, the food insecure people. Look at all the people that are working under, what do you call them? Jobs that are under their capacity, right? Like there are a lot of people that are underemployed, right? There's people that have got master's degrees working at Starbucks, crying at Starbucks, talking about they want to unionize because they're not getting paid enough. But you got a master's degree, you ain't got no business working at Starbucks. What are you crying about? See, and that is the problem with the school system, the way that it has happened. They've done all of these things and all of these jobs and stuff like that, and people can't even get jobs. People can't get jobs for the degrees that they got. So a lot of people are underemployed. Why aren't we addressing these issues? Why is there no program to address those that are underemployed and get them into different fields? You know, we can get the data, we can get the information. Why aren't we seeking those people out? I don't know, just a thought and a solution. We should do that. SBA, okay, Department of Labor, if you're listening, okay, White House, whoever's listening, you know, tag some people. But this is important. This is very, very important. Because what we're seeing right now, and I'm going to tie it all back together, what we're seeing now is the limitation of the freedom of mobility of people, not just socially, but economically as well as physically in many cases. In New York State, we just started a new law where they make it more difficult for you to, or I should say, they make it more simple for them to take your ID away. So, I mean, not your ID, but your driver's license, and suspend your driver's license. That just started today. So what are we really doing? These are the conversations we need to have. If you live in a blue state or a major metropolitan area, especially in a blue state, you might see that they're starting to peel back lanes. A 4-lane highway or a 4-lane throughway might have been cut down to 2 lanes. They might be putting all these crazy roundabouts in your area. If you live in the New York City itself proper, you've got congestion pricing to keep you out of certain neighborhoods. So all of this is limitation of freedom of mobility. They're trying to box us into certain little areas and essentially make open air prisons where they can control every aspect of our life. And I've laid that out for you on this episode today. We've talked about all of the things that are impending that are all coming to a head all at one time. And at the end of the day, what we're going to see is 15-minute cities. And I encourage you guys to go look those up. Okay? Because it's too much what's going on all at one time. So when people say, oh, it's the Democrats, oh, it's the Republicans. No, it's all of them. What they say is 2 wings, 1 bird. And while I got some time left, I want to talk about the Republican Party today. Now, I am a dyed-in-the-wool Republican, as Frederick Douglass said, and I would never want to be anything but a member of the Party of Freedom. Now, let me tell you about the Republican Party, but let's start with the Democrat Party. Over the weekend, and we started talking about this in the beginning of the show, we saw Hillary Clinton out in Munich, at the Munich Security Conference, talking about border security needs to be tightened up. We need to close the borders. We need to deport illegal aliens, and we need to do it more and stuff like that. They also had AOC out there, talking. I don't even know what she was talking about. She wasn't talking very much at all. That was part of the problem. They were asking her questions, and she was all gaff in the mouth. Come here, God. Well, this and this and that and that and the third and the. She didn't even say anything. It was terrible, horrible look. You know what I'm saying? These are just objective analyses. I got more thoughts because I'm not a big fan, but this is just an objective analysis. It looked very bad. Then they got Gavin Newsom over there. And if y'all guys ever watch Gavin Newsom do a press conference or anything like that, this man, Gavin Newsom, is something else. Gavin Newsom is a consummate politician. I mean, my guy has more aura points. He's got more savoir-faire. He's got more charisma than a dozen other people combined. But he can't talk about nothing for nothing. And I think he's smart on the low. Right? Like, I think Gavin Newsom is smart on the low. I just believe that based on what he was talking about over there, he couldn't carry a note, couldn't carry a tune, because they're empty. The Democrat Party is empty. Then we had Chris Cuomo on the internet over the weekend decrying, oh, the left is taking over the party and they're causing a fraction in the party. The far left and the socialists and the Marxists and the communists are all taking over the Democrat Party and they need to get out. That's what Chris Cuomo said. If y'all know, I'm not a fan of any of the Cuomos. And that's what Chris Cuomo said. So we got Hillary Clinton saying, be tough on the border. We got Chris Cuomo talking about the leftists and the socialists are taking over the party and we got to get rid of them. And the Democrat Party is falling to pieces. And if this SAVE Act gets passed, I guarantee you some of these districts that the Democrats have won in, they're going to lose. They're going to lose because a lot of these things have relied on mail-in ballots and things that were very sketchy. And, they say, well, there's no widespread fraud. There might not be widespread fraud, but there's enough fraud in enough places to cost you enough seats to make you worry. And that's what's going on with the Democrat Party right now. They're freaking out. They're falling to pieces. We got a guy right here where I live in Rochester. His name's Bill Moyle. Bill Moyle, however you say his last name, I can't stand his policies, right? His policies are terrible. He supports all of that alphabet nonsense, trans nonsense, Palestine nonsense, all of that. But he's always treated me pretty fair. So shout out to you, Bill. You've always treated me fair. You've always been very respectable to me. I appreciate that. Okay. Shout out to you. Hats off to you. Okay. But the fact of the matter is this man has supported every leftist cause possible. Every leftist. If you name it, the pink pussycat hats. Okay. If you name it, Bill has supported it. And they cut him out at the knees. He was supposed to run for town supervisor again this year, and they replaced him with somebody younger and more Jewish, I guess. And I'm laughing if you guys can't hear me on the radio. But I'm surprised, right? But the fact of the matter is the guy that they're putting against him, somebody's like, oh, the other guy is a little more conservative than him. I don't think so. I don't think he is. I think he's more left. Okay. I think he's more left, but there are concerns inside the Democrat Party that the party itself has gone too left. Like I said, like Cuomo the lesser said, like it's a problem. It's a problem. And what we're seeing now is we're seeing like the sinking ship that the Democrat platform and the Democrat Party is. We're seeing the rats escape the ship and try to jump on to the Republican bandwagon and try to be like, oh, well, we're Republicans now. No, you're not. Stay where you are or be independent. You are not Republican. You don't got a conservative bone in your body. I do not want you here. Okay. You do not need to be here. You ain't got no business over here. And anybody that's a real Republican or a real conservative needs to be calling out these new people coming over here. I call them the light right. LITE, the light right. That's what these Democrats that are coming over to the Republican Party are. Okay. They might have like a 40, 50% little bit, teeny bit of conservatism at the max of them. But really what it is they see that the Democrat Party is sinking and they're trying to do what they can to uplift themselves. So they'll come over to the Republican Party. They're no better than the carpetbaggers of the old age. So they're the new age carpetbaggers, the light right. And this is the problem because real Republicans, real conservatives are not standing up to these clowns. And they're running for office. They're running for seats, even in deep Republican territories. There's this lady down in North Carolina. Her name is Kathy Barr. Okay. And she is a open, devout a Democrat. And she's running on the Republican primary. She's running in the Republican primary. And she says, I'm not even Republican. I'm just running in the Republican primary so I can get elected. She says this openly. This is a problem, you guys. This is a serious, serious, serious problem. We need to pay attention to what's going on with these leftists coming in to the Republican Party. And what's happening is these people are not the rhinos traditionally that you would see, right? Like the rhinos grew in and around the Republican Party. The light right, LITE, okay, the light right are people that used to be Democrats. They so-called converted, okay, or re-registered as Republican, and they're not Republican. They're not Republican. But they're out here talking about they are, just so that they can convince Republicans to vote for them. Because they think that you're stupid. They think that you don't care about values. They think that you don't care about conservatism. They think that you won't stand on values and morals and that you'll vote for them even if they don't stand for what you want. That's what they think of Republicans. They think you're dumb. The light right thinks that you're dumb. Don't fall for it. They need to be run out of wherever they are, okay? And this includes Monroe County where I live, okay? All of these light right people, all they are is Democrat saboteurs trying to take power in the Republican Party the same way that the socialists and the communists took power in the Democrat Party, okay? The light, I'm going to say that again. You can clip this. This is important. The light right, LITE, okay, the light right are the people that are the Democrats that see that the Democrat ship is sinking. They are hopping ship and trying to re-register as Republicans or run as Republicans so that they can either disrupt and destroy our party from within or possibly gain their own seats for themselves. But either way, they are standing against what we stand for in the Republican Party as real conservatives, as real individuals with traditional values. And we've got to see what's being done, and we've got to stand up, because if we don't stand up now in the Republican Party, it'll be completely lost. And we've got people that are mad in the Republican Party that have, we got more 30-year grudges than we got 30-year-olds in the party right now. Let's be honest. And this is a serious issue. Okay? But because of these rhinos, because of these establishment people in power, nobody sees these light right clowns coming in to our party, pushing this social liberal agenda. Okay, because that's largely where they consolidate around. And if you listen to what they're saying, if you listen with your ears, you can hear the leftism drip off of their mouths. Okay, we need to stand up as Republicans against this nonsense, and we need to push them out of our party. But they're the new shiny thing, so people want to get all in line with them, and they want to stand by their side and be like, look, these new people are Republicans. Why would you want the enemy inside your own camp? That's what I got for you if you're on the radio. Thank you guys for tuning into The Divide. You are listening to WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. Please go on Patreon and support the station. If you guys are online, okay, you can support the show by going over to either of the side over there. We got PayPal, Cash App, Venmo. Please donate, support the show. Or if you're vertical, look at it down there. That's how you can see it. And whatever you can do helps us put more money towards the show, helps us get more airtime, and have the important conversations that you need to hear in your ear. Because these are important conversations. What we see going on with the Republican Party, if the Republican Party falls and collapses, where do we have to go as conservatives? Where do we go as traditionalists? There are no other parties. That means the enemy will have completely taken over both major parties. What are we going to go to the Libertarian Party? We're going to go to the Conservative Party, the Working Families Party. Maybe we could win a county ledge race with one of those things. You can't win anything of any real merit. We need to stand up, and we need to stand up now. We need to be pushing and ostracizing these so-called light right people completely out of our party. We need to be blocking them at every portion and every possibility. And then we got people out here endorsing them. And they're clearly on the left, but they're calling themselves Republicans. And I'll give you an example, and I'll get ready to leave on this one. I want to give a shout out to the Conservative Party of Onondaga County here in New York State and Cayuga County. Bruce Blakeman is running for the Republican Party nomination right now, okay? So he's running, but they said that they won't actually nominate him, even though he won the conservative nomination. But they said that they won't nominate him because he's not pro-life. And that's important. You know, they're standing on business. So shout out to y'all for standing on business. Now, this has been a continued issue with the Republican Party, going a little left, and a little more left. So a couple years ago, they took pro-life out of the stance of the national platform. That was a problem and a mistake. The same year they did that, they had this unrepentant harlot, Amber Rose, get out there on the GOP stage at our national convention and talk about all of this and all of that, which was empty. She talked about empty nothings. Okay. I guess she said that Trump's not that bad. She did her own research. Didn't nobody need to platform her at the GOP national convention like she is something that we should look up to and stuff like that. The only reason why Amber Rose was ever popular or got known at all was because she was a harlot, sleeping around with basketball stars and football stars and dancing with her booty shaking in rap videos and stuff like that. That's how she got famous. Like, can we have that conversation? And you got her at the GOP convention. What message are you sending? That's what we support now. And she's unrepentant. She's an unrepentant harlot. And that's the problem. Not that she is or was a harlot, that she's unrepentant about it. That's the problem. And then we had Harmet Dillon get up there. I believe she's a U.S. Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General or something now. One of those. Anyway, she got up there at the convention and she was like, to the one true God, Guru Swamarami or Wagyu Guru. or whatever it is. No disrespect, I just don't know what it is because I'm not a sheik. Okay, wagyu guru or something like that. It doesn't matter. But I'm like, who is that for, right? And I respect the sheiks a lot. Okay, I like their religion a lot. I like their culture. Okay, they are very humble people that are very honorable people, and they are some of the fiercest, bestest fighters in the whole world. So shout out to y'all. Okay, but the fact that she did that, knowing that our demographic is largely Christian, conservative, and is in part Jewish, like, why would you do that? Why would you do that at all? Right? And I don't want my comments blowing up about the Jews. Let's not do that today. Okay. So, but why would you say that? You know that that is antithetical to Christian beliefs. And if the majority of our party is Christian, why would you say that? Why would anybody think that that is a good idea? To what? Curry favor with the sheiks? That was a big deal to them. Yes, maybe a little bit. I'm sure, because they feel like their religion is getting platformed. But to be honest, there aren't a lot of them to give us any votes to put our message forward. So why would you do that? That hurt more than it helped. And it's this type of stuff that's a slow and steady drift, more and more to multiculturalism, more and more to omniumism. That's where you just kind of mold all of the religions together. Okay? More and more to all of this nonsense. That's what they're doing. That's what they're pushing on us. That is the exact same stuff that's happening on the left, that has happened on the left. And that is why the Democrats are exactly in the issues that they're in right now. Okay? Because they have no base. So they're trying to pull away the base of our Christian and traditional foundations in the Republican Party. Because they know that once they do that, they can do whatever they want. And it doesn't even matter, because if you build on a loose or shaky foundation, boom, it's gone. You don't build your house on sand, right? That's what the Bible says, right? You're supposed to build it on the foundation, on the rock. Jesus is that rock, okay? And that's what we need to stand on. That's what we need to stand on. We need to stand on Christianity. We need to stand on the traditional American values. I'm not talking about excluding anybody or any of that. But what I am talking about is, if we're not going to stand solid, 10 toes down, they're going to do whatever they want. And we won't have anywhere to go. And we'll be relegated to camps, and we'll be relegated to the dust. And that's the way that things are going right now in America right now. We got so few Christians that are willing to stand up and actually stand for the biblical teachings. We got a lot of Christians right now that are so-called Christians, or the wishy-washy Christians. They're like, I don't want to say anything because I'm concerned of how it might impact my job, or I'm concerned about how it might make me look, or I can't say anything because of this, because of that. You don't trust God? You don't trust God. That's what you're saying. You're saying that you won't stand up for God and you won't stand up for righteousness. That's what you're saying when you say that. Well, I'm concerned the impact that it'll have. You don't trust God. And Jesus talked about that. You are the lukewarm Christians that he talked about. He's going to spit you out. Then we got the other fake Christians, okay, the absolute fake Christians that are out here talking about all this alphabetism and all of this other nonsense, transgenderism and all of the other isms, okay, socialism, Marxism, all the rest of it, okay? You got all of them, and they're out there talking about they're Christian, and other Christians just let them get away with it. Those are heretics, if you put it nicely, right? Really, they're antichrists. Why are we as Christians not standing up to that? That's a problem. Why is the Republican Party not standing up for Christians the way that they stand up for Jews? How about that? Can we talk about that? Why can the Democrat Party fight all the fights for the Muslims, but nobody is fighting for the Christians? There was this lady, she was Miss California like some years ago. She's on the panel for freedom of religion or something like that. And she was doing a committee hearing or something like that. And they didn't like her response, saying that she is a Catholic, so she does not support Zionism. But that has been the history of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church has never supported Zionism. So now you're saying you're going to remove her because she's out here standing up for actual Christians? She's up here standing out for actual scripture? You're going to remove her? Another slight against Christians. And where are the Christians? Where is the outrage? Where is the Catholic Church? Okay? Where is the Protestant Church? Okay? Have we as Christians got so caught up in Zionism that we have forgotten the scriptures and the teachings of Jesus? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, we as Christians are losing everything because we're too busy sniffing after everybody else except ourselves. The Bible is very clear. We need to be looking after ourselves the same way the Muslims look after themselves, the same way the Jews look after themselves, okay? The same way the Sheiks look after themselves, the same way the Hindus look after themselves. Everybody look after themselves, but Christians want to look after everybody but Christians. Hello, make it make sense. That's what I got for you guys. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe. If you want to support the show, you can do Cash App, MW, the $MW Real, the #1, or you can do Venmo or PayPal, and that's at Marcus C. Williams on either Venmo or PayPal. Support the show, hit the share button, follow, subscribe. I'll catch you guys later. Be blessed and be well. And remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action.